Prince Andrew has been thrown out, stripped of titles, exiled from royal life, and facing the wrath of Parliament. The Duke of York no more, his royal status is collapsing. As lawmakers step in and the palace closes its doors, one thing is clear: this prince has fallen. The breaking point: Andrew loses his titles. Prince Andrew is no longer the Duke of York. After a private but tense conversation with King Charles, a major royal shift was set in motion. The palace later confirmed that Andrew had agreed to give up his titles, but according to senior insiders, this wasn't a peaceful decision. It was a forced retreat. This marks the end of an era. The Duke of York title, gifted by Queen Elizabeth II on Andrew's wedding day in 1986, has now been revoked. Also gone is his membership in the Order of the Garter, the most senior chivalric honor in Britain. Losing this prestigious title cuts deep. It's one of the oldest royal traditions, and only the most trusted members of the monarchy wear that sash. Andrew is still technically a prince, but let's be clear. In the royal world, titles carry power, presence, and pride. Without them, he's essentially been erased from senior royal life. One royal aide put it bluntly: he's no longer His Royal Highness in the eyes of the public. That honor is over. The announcement came just days after a new round of media coverage linked Andrew once again to the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. Though Andrew still vigorously denies the allegations, pressure was mounting, and Charles had to act. Sources say the king was deeply aware of how the monarchy's reputation was being dragged through the mud. In just a few short sentences, a statement from Buckingham Palace changed Andrew's entire royal identity. With the king's approval and agreement, the Duke of York's military affiliations and royal patronages have been returned to Her Majesty. This may sound calm on paper, but behind the scenes, it was war. The decision was not just about appearances, it was about survival. Charles had just taken the throne, and the last thing he needed was an unresolved scandal haunting the new era. As Andrew's royal titles were quietly deleted from official websites and documents, the public reaction was loud and clear. Too little, too late for some, a necessary step for others. But losing the titles was just step one. What came next proved even more humiliating. The royal family's public divorce from Andrew. The palace didn't just take away Prince Andrew's titles, they cut him off completely. From this point on, he would no longer be a working royal. No events, no appearances, no involvement in any royal charities or military ceremonies. His royal calendar? Wiped clean. Despite public language suggesting he chose this path, internal reports reveal a different truth. One former palace aide said, he was given a choice, either quietly step back or be forced out in front of the world. The official statement framed the decision delicately, saying Andrew would no longer hold public roles and was defending his case as a private citizen. But behind that polite wording was a far more brutal reality. Andrew had become a liability, and the monarchy had no room for loose ends. For decades, he was the Queen's favorite, her so-called rock. But now, under King Charles's rule, there's no such thing as untouchable. In fact, Charles is determined to reshape the monarchy, leaner, cleaner, scandal-free, and Andrew no longer fits. This wasn't just about reputation, it was about the future. The monarchy knows that with the rise of digital media, everything is watched, archived, and remembered. If they allowed Andrew to stay, the backlash wouldn't stop. It would only grow. The royal family's internal machine moved fast, removing Andrew's profiles from official sites, pulling him out of upcoming royal events, and cutting his office staff. In royal circles, That's as final as it gets. One royal expert told BBC Newsnight, Charles didn't just remove him from duty. He deleted him from the royal script. But even as Andrew vanished from the palace roster, his presence remained, living inside Royal Lodge, surrounded by staff, still drawing public attention. And soon, questions started swirling about why he still had a royal residence at all. Which brings us straight into the next unfolding chapter: the royal eviction. Palace walls close in. Andrew ordered to vacate royal residence. For years, Prince Andrew lived in quiet luxury at Royal Lodge, a sprawling 30-room estate in Windsor Great Park. But that chapter is now collapsing. According to multiple insiders, the king has made it clear: Andrew must leave. This isn't sudden. It started back in early 2023, when King Charles cut off Andrew's £250,000 annual grant. Without that royal income, maintaining a multi-million-pound estate became nearly impossible. Still, Andrew reportedly resisted every attempt to move him out, clinging to the lodge like it was his last piece of royal dignity. Now, after the formal loss of his titles and public role, the pressure has intensified. Discussions are already underway to rehouse Andrew in Frogmore Cottage, the same property Harry and Meghan were forced to vacate earlier this year. Compared to Royal Lodge, it's a downgrade, smaller, less private, and steeped in royal drama. One source close to the situation said, "He's being squeezed out slowly." Charles doesn't want a scene, but make no mistake, this is an eviction. Royal Lodge was more than just a home. It was a symbol of Andrew's remaining status. Set on 98 acres, it was gifted to him after the death of Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, in 2002. It's also where Sarah Ferguson still lives, his ex-wife, now caught in the fallout. If Andrew goes, so does she. This isn't just about property. It's about removing Andrew's last physical connection to royal privilege. Palace aides believe that allowing him to remain would send the wrong message, especially now that Parliament is watching. The silence from Andrew has been deafening. No public statements, no pushback, no legal threats. Insiders believe he knows there's no way out. The king has decided, and once that happens, the rest of the palace machinery follows. And with Andrew's physical exit in motion, the next move shifts from the palace to Parliament, where lawmakers are preparing a far more historic punishment. UK Parliament steps in, historic push for formal exile. Until now, all of Prince Andrew's losses came from within the royal family, quiet, internal, and personal. But now the spotlight has turned to Westminster, where UK Parliament is considering something that hasn't happened in over a century: a formal act of exile. Stripping a royal of their titles and status by law is extremely rare. The last time this happened was in the aftermath of World War I, when the Titles Deprivation Act of 1917 was used to cut ties with royals who sided with Britain's enemies. Now, in 2025, MPs are invoking that same law, and it's aimed directly at Andrew. A cross-party coalition of lawmakers is pushing for action. They argue that royal accountability cannot depend solely on family decisions. In their view, Andrew still holds the title of prince and remains a symbol of the crown, a symbol they say should be removed permanently. One member of Parliament, speaking during a recent Commons debate, said, "The public has been patient, but enough is enough. We cannot allow someone facing these serious accusations to retain royal status." The Epstein scandal, now reawakened by the recent death of Virginia Giuffre, continues to haunt Andrew. Survivors and advocacy groups are now pressuring lawmakers directly, urging them to ensure that Andrew faces more than just palace discipline. There is serious momentum behind the move. Parliament is expected to hold formal discussions in the coming months. And if the vote goes through, Andrew could lose everything. Not just his titles, but his constitutional place as a royal altogether. What makes this even more serious is that such a law would set a permanent precedent. If passed, it means no future monarch, not even Prince William, could restore Andrew's honors. As one legal expert put it, this wouldn't just exile him from the family. It would erase him from British royal history. And, with Parliament's axe swinging dangerously close, Prince Andrew's fate is no longer just in the king's hands. It's in the hands of the public's elected leaders. But even as Parliament prepares its next move, the shadow of Epstein continues to darken everything. Epstein shadows return. The accusations that never went away. No matter how hard Prince Andrew tries to step back, the shadow of Jeffrey Epstein refuses to fade. His denial may be firm, but the public memory is stronger. It's been more than 5 years since Andrew's disastrous 2019 BBC Newsnight interview, yet the scandal still dominates his name. Andrew insists he is innocent, repeating that he vigorously denies all allegations. But the facts surrounding his friendship with Epstein and with Ghislaine Maxwell continue to haunt him. And now, in 2025, that haunting has deepened following the shocking death of Virginia Giuffre earlier this year. Giuffre was the woman who accused Andrew of abusing her when she was 17. Her passing has reignited outrage and pain among survivors. Her brother told the BBC that watching Andrew lose his titles was a joyous moment for survivors. To them, it was a small piece of justice, though long delayed. Another Epstein victim, Haley Robson, said during a live interview, "Virginia started this fight, and we're going to see it through. I just wish she could have been here to watch what she began finally break." The words hit home, and so did the images. Across social media, hashtags calling for full accountability trended in both the UK and the US. The public mood turned fiery, demanding that Andrew face real consequences, not just symbolic gestures. Palace insiders say this renewed attention was one of the final pushes behind King Charles's decision to take formal action. The king reportedly told advisors he wanted closure before the monarchy's image takes another hit. But the problem for Andrew is that every move he makes only draws the spotlight closer. His lawyers continue to deny the accusations, yet documents, witness claims, and old photos, especially that infamous 2001 photograph of Andrew with Giuffre, keep resurfacing. Now, as Parliament debates formal exile, the Epstein narrative has become more than a scandal. It's a storm Andrew cannot escape. Every headline, every interview, every survivor's statement adds pressure on the monarchy to draw a harder line. Even as the palace tries to shift focus to other royal duties, the stain remains. The ghosts of Epstein and Giuffre still circle around Andrew's reputation like permanent shadows. And just as the family thought the storm was passing, King Charles made a move that proved this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The king's silent strike. Charles pulls the trigger. Behind the royal facade of calm tradition, King Charles III has been preparing a quiet but decisive move, the one that sealed Andrew's fate. He waited patiently, out of respect for his late mother, Queen Elizabeth II, who passed in September 2022. But now, with the crown firmly on his head, Charles is acting in ways his mother never could. According to royal correspondence, the decision to strip Andrew's honors was personally approved by Charles during a private meeting at Clarence House. Insiders call it the silent strike, A strategic move executed without drama, but with devastating precision. One palace source revealed, Charles gave him a choice: step down gracefully, or have everything taken in public. That conversation reportedly took place just 2 weeks before the official announcement. Andrew resisted, hoping to hold on to his honorary military titles, but Charles was unmoved. The king's message was clear: the new era of monarchy will not be tainted by old scandals. What makes this move extraordinary is how Charles handled it. He avoided public confrontation, no televised showdown, no angry statement. Instead, it was managed as a royal surgical operation, clean, quiet, final. When the announcement was released, Andrew had already been erased from key palace schedules and official websites. Royal experts say Charles is setting the tone for a modern, responsible monarchy. He's cutting away the excess, ending the era of untouchable royals. One analyst told Sky News, "Charles is cleaning house. This isn't revenge, it's restoration. It's also deeply personal." Charles knows public trust is fragile. With the monarchy facing economic criticism and generational skepticism, he cannot afford a family member associated with Jeffrey Epstein remaining visible or funded by taxpayers. This is why every move, from cutting Andrew's £250,000 allowance to evicting him from Royal Lodge, connects to one royal mission: protect the crown. And it worked. Public opinion briefly shifted, with polls showing over 70% of Britons approving of Charles's decision. But as the king moves forward with this quiet purge, another question rises. What happens to the people closest to Andrew, like Sarah Ferguson, who built her own life inside his shadow? That's where the next chapter begins. The Duchess with no title and no home. Sarah Ferguson, cut loose. Duchess no more. While the spotlight stayed on Prince Andrew, the blow landed just as hard on someone else. Sarah Ferguson, the woman once known to the world as the Duchess of York. Now, that title is gone. Though the pair divorced way back in 1996, Fergie and Andrew never truly separated. They continued living together at Royal Lodge, co-parented with ease, and were even rumored to be romantic again at times. But after Andrew's royal fall, Sarah's quiet position inside the monarchy collapsed overnight. With Andrew stripped of the Duke of York title, Sarah automatically loses her Duchess styling, a royal domino effect. She now holds no formal status within the royal family. No more invitations, no more red carpets, no more standing at the balcony. According to one royal insider, she's not just out of the spotlight, she's out of the circle. And the blow isn't just symbolic. Fergie has relied on Royal Lodge as her home base for over 20 years. If Andrew is forced out, she's going with him. Sources close to the couple say she's been devastated by the shift, though she still remains publicly loyal to Andrew. That loyalty could cost her even more. While she's spent years rebuilding her image, publishing books, working with charities, even becoming a social media personality, the stink of scandal is hard to escape. Brands and publishers are reportedly re-evaluating their partnerships with her now that she's once again tied to royal disgrace. Yet, despite it all, Fergie isn't fighting back, at least not publicly. In a recent appearance, she simply said, "I will always stand by my family. Always." Still, without a title or a royal home, her future is murky. And while her daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, retain their titles, even they are now distancing themselves from royal life, stepping further into private roles and charity work outside the palace bubble. Sarah Ferguson has lost her status, her comfort, and possibly her last connection to the royal family. But the public isn't done reacting, and outside the gates, the world's opinion is louder than ever. Public reaction, cheers, outrage, and bitterness. The fall of Prince Andrew wasn't just a royal family affair. It became a public spectacle. As news broke that Andrew had lost his titles and was being cut off, the reaction was explosive. Survivors and advocacy groups were the first to speak. On social media and in interviews, they expressed relief, calling it long overdue justice. Many tied the announcement directly to the death of Virginia Giuffre, saying this was a moment she fought hard to make happen, even if she didn't live to see it. But not all reactions were about justice. Some royal supporters, particularly those loyal to the memory of Queen Elizabeth II, voiced concern. They believed this kind of public humiliation was damaging the monarchy's image, especially so soon after the Queen's passing in 2022. Still, the majority sided with King Charles's decision. A poll conducted by a major UK outlet showed 72% of the public supported the move to exile Andrew. Many praised the king for showing strength and clarity in a time when trust in institutions continues to decline across Britain. On platforms like X, formerly Twitter, and TikTok, thousands of users shared old clips from Andrew's Newsnight interview, mocking his infamous "no sweating" defense. The clip became a meme, a reminder of why so many wanted him held accountable in the first place. There were also calls for deeper action. Critics pointed out that Andrew still holds the title of Prince, argued that his exile wasn't complete until that, too, was gone. Some MPs echoed the sentiment, pressing for further parliamentary action, especially if Andrew continues to live on royal property. A few voices stood out with bitterness. One royal historian noted, "It's not just about what Andrew did or didn't do. It's about how long the palace protected him and how long the public tolerated it." That sense of betrayal, especially among younger generations, is fueling wider conversations about royal privilege, power, and accountability. For many, this isn't just about Andrew. It's about whether the monarchy itself can survive in the modern world without real consequences for its members. And now, with the dust barely settling, all eyes are turning toward Andrew's next move, or lack of one, because in the quiet corners of Royal Lodge, he remains, for now. But his isolation is only growing, and the silence is starting to speak louder than anything he's ever said. Next, we step into the lonely world of a fallen prince and ask whether his story is truly over. The quiet isolation of a fallen prince. Once known as Randy Andy, the flashy royal with a military past and royal connections to burn, Prince Andrew now lives in silence, cut off from the spotlight, stripped of power, and buried under the weight of public disgrace. After the storm of announcements, title removals, and growing legal pressure, what's left for him is almost nothing. He has no royal duties, no military affiliations, no charities to represent. He no longer appears on the official royal website. The man once fourth in line to the throne is now little more than a ghost in royal shadows. Inside the walls of Royal Lodge, where Andrew still resides, for now, sources say he's become increasingly withdrawn. According to a former royal aide, he barely leaves the house. The phones don't ring like they used to. The invitations stopped a long time ago. His social circle has shrunk dramatically. Many friends from the old royal world have cut ties. Even public sightings are rare. No polo matches, no garden parties, no appearances at major events like Trooping the Color. The public doesn't miss him, and the monarchy doesn't need him. But the walls are still closing in. With King Charles moving forward on removing royal perks and UK Parliament threatening further exile, Andrew's days at Royal Lodge are likely numbered. He's expected to be moved, possibly to Frogmore Cottage, a smaller and less private estate recently vacated by Prince Harry and Meghan. The downgrade is both symbolic and financial. Without his £250,000 annual grant, Andrew cannot afford to maintain the life he once knew. He's reportedly relying on private income and the inheritance left behind by his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, to survive quietly. And yet, for all this silence, the spotlight never really fades. The Epstein scandal continues to follow him. New lawsuits and documents still surface. Rumors swirl about potential legal reopenings in the U.S. His name remains forever linked to the darkest royal controversy in modern memory. Even within the family, he's become a difficult presence. Prince William has reportedly made it clear there is no future role for Andrew in a modern monarchy. Princess Anne, once closer to him, is now focused entirely on duty. Even Beatrice and Eugenie, his daughters, are stepping carefully around the fallout. And so Andrew sits in the quiet ruins of his royal life. No speeches, no camera flashes, just the ticking clock of history, counting down a once powerful prince's slow fade into irrelevance. But the world still asks one final question: could he ever come back? What happens next? Can he ever come back? Redemption. It's the last thread people still wonder about. But for Prince Andrew, that door is firmly shut. He has no title, no role, and now Parliament is involved. Lawmakers are pushing to invoke the 1917 Titles Deprivation Act, which could strip him of the prince title for good. If passed, it would be permanent. Not even a future King William could reverse it. Inside the palace, insiders say the verdict is final. The firm has closed ranks. There will be no rehabilitation. This isn't just about guilt. It's about public trust. The monarchy can't afford to shield someone linked to Jeffrey Epstein, especially in today's unforgiving media world. If Andrew ever returned to public life, it would spark outrage across Britain. He may attend family events, but he's no longer part of the working royals. With William, Kate, and the next generation taking the stage, there's simply no space for Andrew. Meanwhile, legal threats still loom. He settled with Virginia Giuffre in 2022, paying a reported £12 million, but U.S. lawyers are watching closely. Documents tied to Ghislaine Maxwell's trial may still resurface. Public opinion is unforgiving. A recent poll shows 68% believe he should lose his title, and 60% say he should leave royal property. Even royal historians now speak plainly. We're witnessing the final chapter of a disgraced prince. Unless a miracle occurs, Prince Andrew will remain in exile. Not abroad, but alone, behind palace gates once open to him. No role, no redemption. A prince in name only. And perhaps not for long. There's no throne, no comeback, and soon, no title at all. With Parliament moving to erase him, Prince Andrew's exile is nearly complete. The monarchy moves on without him, tighter than ever. He watches from the sidelines, unwanted, untitled, and undone. This isn't retreat. It's royal erasure.